The communities of Eersterust and Mamelodi continue to live in fear, especially women and children. Well, this follows the rumours of a serial killer that's currently on the loose in the area after the burnt bodies of several women were discovered close to a railway line. Another fear factor is the body of 30-year-old Loveness Magabe that was discovered in Eersterust, buried in a shallow grave, and the accused in the case has since appeared in the Pretoria Magistrates Court in connection with Magabe's murder. SABC News reporter Patricia Visagie joins us from Eersterust, where she's been speaking to some community members as well as leaders about the current crime in the area. Patricia, a very good afternoon to you. So you are joining us from one of the areas that is highly impacted by crime. I mean, various bodies of women there, about 6 in total, were discovered just this month. What are the residents, the community at large, also saying about the increasing crime trends in the area, and how the police also dealing with the high crime rate? Do they even have enough available resources? Are they collaborating with their CPFs as well?
Well, good afternoon, Alicia, and of course to our viewers. And I really just want to show this railway line so that you understand that this has become one of the most scariest areas for the community members from Eersterust and Mamelodi. And of course, here is the Eersterust part of it. Then it stretches, it becomes the Watlu part, and it stretches into Mamelodi, which is the Deneboom train station. And Alicia, it is along this railway line where the bodies of the women were discovered between June, July, and of course August. Disturbing for many of them, as it is of course Women's Month, and yet the women in this area have to find themselves living in fear on tenterhooks. But it is the communities as a collective that are dealing with this social ill. And I want to bring in a community activist, Veronica Marion, who has really, raised concern about what's happening and how it's not business as usual in Eersterust following the discovery of the bodies, and really just rampant crime that is holding community members hostage. And Veronica, you have been really vocal about the tensions, the fear, and how many of you every day find yourselves, having to give community members answers about what is happening. In a nutshell, can you perhaps, just talk about the discovery and really just what does this say about crime? We are in the middle of Women's Month, yet we're dealing with such a startling revelation.
Yes, as a community at large, and firstly, as a woman, and it's Women's Month, and we have to deal with this gruesome findings and having to be on tender hooks and alert and be aware, afraid to move the way you move because you don't know what is going on. What I would like to say is the guy that is now in custody, why is there, since he has been in custody, there was no bodies found yet? Now the question remains, and that is on everybody's lips, is he the serial killer? Or is the real serial killer just lying low for the dust to lie down and strike again? That is why it's not business as usual. Everybody is in fear for our lives. And Women's Month, this is not on. I'm appealing to the police, to SABC, to make sure that when they do their investigation, that they do this thoroughly and leave no stone unturned. Because right now, we don't even know. The alleged serial killer that is locked up might not be responsible for the other bodies and only for the one rape that is now in custody for. And the real serial killer might be lurking out there, waiting for the dust to settle and strike again. So in the meantime, what is SABC doing to safeguard the communities, especially the women, and it's Women's Month, we can't be having this. And it's every day. The crime is escalating to a point where you don't even know what to say. You can't even send the children to the shops anymore without fear of something is going to happen to them. So I'm appealing to the SABC, when you do your investigation by the 15th of October, when he comes back to court, that there will be tangible and right evidence. Either he is the real serial killer or the one is still lurking around, because we cannot go on like this, and we cannot be held ransom by one person who is a danger to an entire species, and I'm talking about all the women. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I want to bring in one of the ward councillors. He's from Ward 43, and that is Benjamin Lawrence from the DA. Of course, you have the very same cries from community members like Veronica, who's an activist, talking about how people come to you and, talk about their fears, wanting answers. We have this railway line. Of course, you can see people have broken the wall there. They're using this as a shortcut to the train station. But what do you make of everything? The cries as a leader, a ward councillor, a politician, when you see all of this and people come to you, what are the solutions that you're working on?
Thank you. It is a very difficult situation even to respond to, because what does one say in this regard when people come and they cry and people, are uncertain. The uncertainty is the worst feeling that we have, and being in front of a community that is traumatized and that is filled with fear, your reaction itself as to what can be done becomes almost impossible. I do have an appreciation for those people that have played the part, number one, to leading to an arrest of an individual. I do appreciate that. I appreciate even with our community policing forum that has been very active in terms of dealing with crime, in general. And as you mentioned, the fact that we have access to this space, I think everybody needs to play their part. In this case, the owners of this space, which is PRASA, it'll be they have a very important part to play in this, to make this place inaccessible, because, by nature, people use this space for shortcuts. And maybe this could have been avoided. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's a possibility. So everybody has got a role to play. Number one, the railway PRASA. Number two, SABC and our justice system as well. But the community also has an important role to play, even ourselves as leaders. We cannot just sit back and say, fold our hands and wait for things to happen. But like I said, so far, I'm really, I'm appreciative of the effort that has been put.
What's the action plan? Is there a plan that's being drafted when you sit in your meetings as community leaders? What's the way forward when communities find themselves in a corner and women who might use this road very early in the morning to go and catch the train, their lives are, hanging by the thread? What is the solution?
Well, currently the plan is obviously a reactive plan. As a community, again, with our security cluster, this is one of the conversations we've been having a lot. So a week ago, we had the executive mayor at our police station, where the conversation between the metro itself as well as SABC in dealing with the aspects that from the council point of view, in terms of what the council can do to ease the problems. Just a simple thing like street lights, where the city is also, committed to assisting us as a community in terms of fixing street lights. And then in terms of from the CPF side, the patrols, to increase our patrols. But, there's a lot more that needs to be done, because crime has become so much more normal and law-abiding citizens have become feared. They've stepped back and the criminals have become more emboldened. So obviously there's a culture that we need to address as a community at large, not just as government, but also as a community. It's something that we have to do together.
There's a family. They are in Limpopo. They're looking for justice. This is the family of Loveness Magabe, a young lady who was found buried in Eersterust. Of course, we know that there's a perpetrator that is behind bars. We don't know, is it him or not, but he is arrested. When you saw that and that whole gruesomeness that unfolded, how did you feel? What do you think must happen when we see such things happening right under your nose? You are a community leader.
Well, what needs to happen is justice must prevail. That's the first thing. We live in a country that has a justice system that deals with, crimes, and that the maximum punishment that can be put out, that's what I think needs to happen. So in terms of especially the suspect that has been caught, otherwise I'm going to go back to the same thing, that we need to find a way to also be aware and try and prevent any further damage. And this is where communities, especially between us as a community of Eersterust and the Mamelodi community, where we now have to start playing a role as well in terms of being vigilant.
All right, thank you so much. We'll leave it at there. Of course, you would remember that following the appearance of this particular suspect, we had several women who came forward alleging that he had apparently raped them. And two of the women that we spoke to, one of them told us a very disturbing tale. And she told us that this particular individual brought her to this railway line where he sexually violated her a couple of years ago, and we've had other voices as well. Of course, police investigations continue as these details also unfold to find out what is really happening. Do they have the right person? Could it be that this gentleman is perhaps behind the spree of rapes and perhaps murders? And as we've heard from Veronica and Benjamin, could it be that the culprit might still be lurking, might still be on the loose? And that is the fear that is gripping these two communities, Mamelodi and Eersterust, where they're appealing on law enforcement to do whatever they can to get to the bottom of what is happening in this area in particular. As I said, this railway line has become a danger zone for many who live around here, but also many who are vulnerable and depend on this rail service. It's back to you in studio.
Thank you so much to SABC News reporter there, Patricia Visagie, live to us from Pretoria and Eersterust. This is, of course, we continue with our special focus on crime here on the SABC News.